I'm still Bob Doyle. Unless they edited me out, I'm still in the film and book The Secret, which was quite some time ago. That was a law of attraction conversation around creating a life that you love. And I'm still about that conversation in terms of creating a life you love. I'm just approaching it a little bit differently by helping people rewire their brains so that they become the person that they need to be able to attract those things that they want that are on their vision board and all of that they're using the law of attraction for. It's kind of a shortcut to manifestation. And that's what I do. So your brain, being in charge of everything, is this highly wired machine, and it's very complex, and it's ruling you. It's determining exactly what your experience of reality is. Would you agree? I mean, everything's going through here, right? So if you're not liking things, if things are miserable, if you get stuck in cycles of negativity or whatever, it's all just an issue of how your brain has been programmed / wired over the course of your life. Now, the aspect I want to talk about, because most of this work and changing it and getting some relief from this kind of stuff, is about noticing how your brain automatically works. Noticing the autopilot wiring is there and going, wow, that's not good. How would I like to change that? So a good place to look is your chain reactions or your spirals. Do you ever have those moments where a thing happens and then it just triggers this series of negative thoughts? You start playing out a scenario. Oh, well, now this, and then this, and then this, and then this. Is that your automatic response? Or does it happen, I don't know, between 75 and 100% of the time? There's so much going on biologically when you do that it feels like you just have to do it. It's seductive. There's a chemistry about it. And if it's something that's been a pattern for you, it's a full-on addiction to the chemistry in your own body. You can analyze it a million different ways, but when you start to spiral and affirm negative things and paint a doom and gloom picture, your brain is on some level getting something out of that, because it feels like it's right, like it's smart, like, yeah, this is exactly what's going to happen. And there's this really nasty cocktail that brews within you of feelings of dread and horrible worry and stress and anxiety, and there's this compulsion to keep going with the scenario. Keep stacking up. Is this ringing true for anybody? I call it stacking, when somebody has a reaction and then they just start piling other things on top of it. Oh, and then this, and then this. Right? So do you stack? I would love to know in the comments if you've ever stacked before. Something triggers you, and what else do you stack on top of that? Because obviously, if you do that, you know how bad it feels. You know it takes you out of the game. It absolutely crushes creativity, productivity, the whole thing. And because of that, when you spiral, the chemistry set is on full charge. It's pumping out chemistry big time. The more you do it. And you've got to metabolize that stuff. I mean, like, your body has to burn that stuff off. And the problem is, if we keep feeding it and keep producing the hormones, keep producing the chemistry, because we keep going down the spiral, it's going to take longer and longer. So if you know the pain of being taken out of the game, even if it's just for a crucial 30 minutes because you go into a spiral and you'd like to be free of those things, all we have to do is basically deconstruct the triggers by shining a light on them, showing them that much of what is causing those triggers was based on something that is not true, and to create a different response that you would prefer to have. Because it's entirely possible for the human brain to spiral upwards. Like, you have a thought, and then it just gets better and gets better and gets better. And that happens for some people. It is a possibility. It's because they're wired that way. They've learned to reframe situations as they come in and say, well, what's the good in this? And how could it get even better if I make this adjustment, or whatever it is? But it's all about that initial reaction when the thing happens, is all about your wiring up to this point. And you've got decades of it in place. So it's natural that you would feel that way. It's nothing to feel like, oh, I just can't get this. It's not an easy thing to override decades of wiring, but that is the work that we help you do by identifying the autopilot wiring that is there, and then giving you a step-by-step daily process for changing that wiring the way you want. And a lot of that comes from, okay, well, if you don't have a really good, inspiring vision for yourself for the future, let's get that going, so that you're inspired to go through the journey that it takes to get to where you really want to go. But let me just remind each and every one of you human beings who was born with something that they feel driven to do, whether or not you're doing it or on the road to do it, it is why you're here. to experience the joy of expressing that creative nature that you have inside you, whether it is in business, whether it's in family, whether it's in the arts, whatever it is, we're here to create. And if you're not creating the way you were here to create, you're going to feel it. And it doesn't feel great. But it's all just an issue of that primary wiring that got put into place, and then events that happen throughout your life that would confirm or validate that wiring, because that's all you know. So the thing happens and you compare it to that. So what we're here to do is take a look at that fundamental wiring, find out where you've got maybe some conversations going that are not true and not serving you, and see if we can change some of those subconscious conversations that are going on all the time over the course of time, so that your brain can literally, biologically, be rewired to support a whole new way of being, which can include not spiraling into the abyss every time you get triggered. That's the kind of freedom that this work can provide. So if you want to learn how to do that, any of these free trainings that I do, I'm now spacing them out to every 2 weeks, just so we have a little bit bigger group in each one. So the next one is this Sunday at 10 a.m. Okay, Sunday at 10 a.m. And then the next one is sometime after that, or 2 weeks after that. So you've got choices, is my point. So you can check this out at any time. Find a training that works for you that you can actually attend, because it's much more effective if you're there and we can communicate, as opposed to watching a replay, which is available, but come on, be there, right? It'll be way more fun. So I hope to see you either Sunday or following a training if any of this applies to you. Hope to see you then.